Germs, Christian Hannah Har here with my boy, Tommy McDaniel. We got him back. Before we get started, I do want to say one thing, Tommy. We just had a bad tornado hit our city, and it was gnarly. And I just want to dedicate this video and just give our thoughts and prayers out to, we lost a couple people in our town. And it was just devastating. So I just want to dedicate this video to those people that lost their lives. Even though it's silly, but still, I want this video to be in remembrance of them. Whenever I go back and watch this video, or if anybody ever goes back randomly and sees this, I just want us to remember what happened and to appreciate each other and to love one another, because you never know, unfortunately, when something terrible can happen.
Exactly.
Top 5, 1978. You can't see, but Tommy's got on his bell bottoms. He's got on his bell bottoms. And we're going to rock 78. I mean, look, 78... When you say a year, there's like certain years instantly make me think of a horror movie. Obviously, 78 is going to trigger a certain horror movie. And I know you guys are like, okay, where's what going to fall on your list? So we're going to let Tommy just lead us off in 1978 with your number 5.
My number 5, a story when I was probably the end of the 90s, early 2000s. Me and my buddy Jason would always go to the video store on a Friday night, and we'd either rent PlayStation games or a horror movie. And there was always one movie that we saw that intrigued us, but we never would rent it because it had a sticker that said explicit gore, rape, violence, whatever, and it had a suggestive photo. So we were like, if we go rent this, they're going to think we're a couple of weirdos. So one day I said, okay, today we're going to be men. And I made him go rent it while I hid in the back and watched. But either way, that movie was I Spit on Your Grave. And we went and watched it, and it didn't really meet the expectations, I guess you could say, as far as the amount of gore. I don't know what we expected, but it's still a pretty cool revenge movie, and it's one that I don't think a lot of people knew about until maybe in the last 10 years or so. I don't know if it was with the internet or with the remake, but that's my number 5.
And that's an iconic poster art. Everybody,
exactly,
you instantly think of that girl. My number 5 is a remake, believe it or not. It is Invasion of the Body Snatchers with Jeff Goldblum. And you know, it's funny. The original Invasion of the Body Snatchers, those movies to me respect those 50s and 60s movies, but you know, like especially like the 50s style. Besides like maybe Wolfman and Frankenstein, a lot of that stuff it's too primitive for me. Like I respect it. I love the history of horror, but like I can't genuinely watch like maybe the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers seriously, I guess. And I mean that respectfully. It's just too primitive. Like I appreciate it, but I can't really get lost in the type movie. So when Cindy was like, look, Scream Factory put out the remake, and I was like, she goes, this got Goldblum in it, and she knows I love The Fly, and I was like, let's just give this a shot. And it blew my mind. I thought it was just fantastic. It felt like an 80s movie to me more than anything, with it being a late 70s movie.
My number 4 is a something you knew was going to be on here, a George Romero movie, and of course I'm talking about Martin. No, not the other one. Not yet. But this is a movie about a vampire who's not a vampire. It's just a weird, interesting take on the vampire genre. If you've ever seen the movie, it feels sympathy and empathy for this young man who is a murderer and rapist, and it's just a really interesting take on the vampire genre. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out, and that's my number 4.
My number 4 is this one goes out to my dad because we love this franchise. He hasn't seen the third one, and I've kind of tried to not say, Dad, it's not going to be as good as the first one, especially the second one. It's Alive 2. There's two kinds of people in this world. There is the Omen type of people that I call those the sophisticated horror fans that cross their legs and watch horror movies like that. Now, no disrespect, because I love The Omen. And then there's It's Alive people, that kind of demon baby type of movie, the drive-in type, and that's me. And It's Alive 2. It's not as pure as the first one. It kind of just, it doesn't really take much risks, but sometimes that's okay. All that happens is the family that had the demon baby, they have like friends that have a family that also have a demon baby. No real explanation. That's fine. I don't need an explanation. Just have another demon baby pop out of somebody.
My number 3 is, I guess most people probably wouldn't think this is a horror movie, but the box alone scared me as a kid, even though I didn't see it till I was older, and that is Faces of Death. If you know anything about Faces of Death, of course, it's supposed to be realistic death and, all people being hit by vehicles and decapitation and cannibalism. Of course, you find out later that most of the stuff is staged and not real, but still something about I don't know, something about knowing that this was this forbidden thing and seeing this the VHS case, it frightened me as a kid, and so that's why I had to put it as number 3 on my list.
I went back and forth with my 2 and 3 more than my 1. To be honest with you, my 1 for me was easy. This is going to be tough to say, but my number 3 is Dawn of the Dead. I've got 2 other movies, and obviously you know what one of them is. Look, it does, like, Dawn of the Dead is one of the most incredible movies, but I'm such a day guy that it kind of weakens my viewing of Dawn of the Dead. I love Dawn of the Dead, don't get me wrong, and to be honest with you, I can already see somebody getting ready to throw something at me. I like the remake almost as much, if not like as much as like the original Dawn of the Dead. Like I like them the same. That's, you know, I'm not saying I like it better. Dawn of the Dead is great, but look, in '78, genuinely, there's 2 other movies that one of them is one of the scariest movies to me as a kid, and the other one is just an incredibly great horror movie. But we'll get to it. But Dawn of the Dead is fantastic. Look, it's my number 3 of the year. So I mean, that's a lot of movies in a year. So, but I'm not gonna say nothing negative about Dawn of the Dead because I don't have anything negative to say. There's just 2 other movies in my life that affected me more. So that's where I'll leave that.
Well, I think I'll take the heat off of you because this is probably going to upset some people. My number 2 is John Carpenter's Halloween. Nope, it's not number 1.
I saw that coming.
I have to admit, I love Halloween. I definitely respect it and appreciate it, but I'm not the biggest Halloween fan the way a bunch of other people are. But it's still a great movie. This one's still, still an awesome movie. 3 is my favorite, but I mean, there's nothing I can really say that hasn't been said. It's iconic. It really, kind of started the slasher genre, and it does still hold up to this day. But there was just one other movie that I like a lot better.
This may surprise you. My number 2, genuinely, I mean this wholeheartedly, is Jaws 2. This was my childhood Jaws movie. Okay. I watched this one more than 1. And 2, I just remember as a kid petrifying me to my core. It's such a simple premise of a movie. It's a killer shark. It sounds so B, but at the same time it's not. It's so Hollywood and big, and that's all thanks to Steven Spielberg. So, and as a kid, it scared me, and I used to always get up as a little kid and yell and jump when Brody gets that big electric wire from underwater, and he's like, "Say ah!" and then the shark bites it and then blows up. Always as a kid, I would get up and run and jump and have a fun. But it's childhood, but I gotta say, Jaws 2 is good as a sequel can be, in my opinion. So that's my number 2 is Jaws 2.
What can my number 1 be? Of course, it's Romero's Dawn of the Dead. Day has grown on me more in the past maybe 5 or 6 years. I think it's done that with a lot of people because for the longest time, Dawn was considered the best. And I mean, now I see a lot of people who love Day as much or more. But so yeah, it's such a unique movie. Just the idea of being in a mall with full reign of everything, that part alone is some of the best parts of the movie. Whenever you don't even have zombies, they're just playing around in the mall. But it's another one. What can you say? It's Romero. It's a zombie movie. It's a classic, and that's my number 1.
And it's also I think for a lot of people, the introduction of Tom Savini as well, and his world of special makeup effects. And obviously, my number 1's Halloween, and I think it just kind of shows I think the reason Halloween was my number 1, and we talked about this pretty deep when we talked about Return of the Living Dead. I'm not a zombie movie fan. The reason Day of the Dead is my favorite is because of the story. Nobody's trusting one another. And, you kind of got a little bit of that with Dawn of the Dead as well. I don't know. I think I'm a bigger fan of, not necessarily singular killers. Like, I love slasher movies. I think the reason Halloween took it number 1 for me was just I really appreciate, number 1, obviously the soundtrack, but Dawn of the Dead has a fantastic soundtrack as well. But I think I'm a big fan of movies that take place mostly at night, that are dark, and I've always been a fan of that. That's just because that's usually when I watch my horror movies. So obviously those 2 movies, there's not going to be any argument that they're 2 of the greatest horror movies ever, and Absolutely. From 2 of the greatest directors. So 78, what a year.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess I'm just going to leave it right there. Obviously, it's going to be... I don't know, Tommy. I foresee people putting Dawn of the Dead as their number one in this list. I don't think it's going to be just straight Halloween.
Maybe. I hope so. But maybe it'll be half and half. But,
Yeah, I want to see some. I want to see some love for Jaws 2 in the comment section. I love Jaws 2, and some people are going to say Jaws isn't a horror movie.
No, it absolutely is.
You know what a horror movie is to me? A movie that actually just makes me. If it makes me uncomfortable, it's a horror movie. So,
the scene where the kids or the teenagers or whatever are on the boats, and one capsizes. I mean, that scene, that's intense. If that doesn't scare you and make you feel uneasy, then you're watching the wrong movie.
Absolutely. So, thank you guys for watching this video, 1978 with Tommy McDaniel. And that's it. Like I said, we're going to leave it there. Dawn and Halloween. You guys let me know which one you think is better. So, all right. We'll see you guys next time.